When most people think about military service, they picture discipline, strength, and sacrifice. What they don't always picture is what happens to the body long after the uniform comes off. For millions of veterans, the physical toll of service doesn't end at discharge. It lingers in the joints, the ears, the lungs, the brain, and even in how they sleep. The human body is remarkably adaptable, but some of what it adapts to during military life leaves marks that never fully go away. And while every veteran's experience is different, and nothing we share today should take the place of real medical guidance from someone who knows your history, the patterns we're going to talk about are well documented and deeply important to understand. Today, we're counting down 10 ways your body can change permanently after military service. Before we get into it, drop a comment below and let us know if you're a veteran or know one and what physical change surprised you most after leaving service. Hearing loss and tinnitus.
And for some people, it's disruptive for their sleep.
Yes.
They can't get to sleep because, and again, you're in a very quiet spot typically.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to fall asleep, and all of a sudden you've got
this noise in your ear.
One of the most common yet overlooked consequences of military service is damage to hearing. More than 1.25 million veterans currently suffer from hearing loss, and nearly 2 million live with tinnitus, that persistent ringing in the ears that never quite goes away. Together, these are the top 2 service-connected disabilities handled by the VA. The reason the damage is often permanent comes down to biology. Unlike most tissues in the human body, the sensory cells in the inner ear do not regenerate. Once they're destroyed by explosive blasts, gunfire, or jet engines, they're gone. Between 2005 and 2009 alone, nearly 3 in 4 combat wounds were caused by explosive mechanisms, and hearing was frequently a casualty even when no other visible injury occurred. Chronic back and neck pain.
There's actually a military term, medical term called military neck, where the actual natural curve of the neck shifts forward and directly compresses on this lower section. We're compressing on the nerve and blood flow that directly distributes the shoulders, the arms, the hands, and so we have people with just muscle fatigue or severe numbness or tingling and sometimes severe weakness in those areas.
Military service is physically grueling in ways that accumulate quietly over years. Service members routinely carry over 100 pounds of gear, including body armor, weapons, and packs. That repeated loading compresses the spine, accelerates disc degeneration, and strains muscles that were never designed to bear that kind of weight for that long. Research shows veterans carry a disproportionate burden of spinal pain compared to civilians, and that their pain is more likely to become chronic and activity limiting. Long hours in armored vehicles, rigid cockpits, or static combat positions add to the problem. For many veterans, the back pain that started as a nagging ache during service becomes a defining feature of daily life afterward. Joint damage.
So that joint was meant to be solid with very little motion. The problem that comes when you have a little too much motion, there's a lot of ligaments there, there's a lot of nerves there, pain fibers there.
Beyond the spine, the joints throughout the body take a serious beating during military service. Parachute landings, obstacle courses, and the sheer repetition of high-impact training cause micro-traumas that accumulate over years. These small injuries rarely shut a service member down in the moment, but over time they add up to arthritis, cartilage loss, and chronic inflammation. The knees and hips are particularly vulnerable. Many veterans find the joint pain they dismissed during service becomes increasingly difficult to manage as they age. Without the constant physical conditioning of active duty to mask the symptoms, the damage becomes far more apparent in the years after separation. Sleep disorders.
According to a new report from the Wounded Warrior Project, the top 5 health issues most reported by veterans were sleep problems, post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression, and back or shoulder problems.
Sleep is often the first casualty of military life and one of the last things to recover. Studies show that approximately 76% of active duty service members get less than the recommended 7 hours of sleep per night, with many operating on just 4 to 6. That chronic deficit rewires how the body approaches rest in ways that persist long after service ends. Insomnia affects between 27 and 54% of military personnel, and obstructive sleep apnea is diagnosed at rates significantly higher than the general population. The sleep architecture of many veterans is fundamentally different from civilians. Years of light, interrupted, hypervigilant sleep train the body to never fully relax, and that pattern can take years of deliberate effort to undo. Disrupted circadian rhythm.
Laying in bed an hour, 2 hours, just looking at the ceiling and, couldn't go to sleep.
Related to sleep, but distinct from it, the body's internal clock takes enormous abuse during military service. Rotating shifts, overnight watches, rapid time zone changes during deployments, and irregular duty schedules throw the circadian rhythm into a state of near constant confusion. When this rhythm is disrupted repeatedly over years, it doesn't simply snap back into place. Many veterans struggle for years with the inability to fall asleep at normal hours, with persistent fatigue, and with a body clock that seems permanently offset from the rest of the world. Shift work disorder and chronic fatigue linked to circadian disruption are well documented in this population. Respiratory damage.
I get flu-like symptoms every month. I have lots of body pain. I cough blood, headaches now from all the coughing. The scary part is I'm in my 40s and this happened to me in my 30s. What's going to happen down the road?
For veterans who served in Southwest Asia, respiratory health is a serious and growing concern. Burn pits at bases across Iraq and Afghanistan released smoke containing over 200 identified toxins. Breathing that air day after day caused inflammation and scarring deep in the airways that can take years to fully manifest. The damage often shows up as chronic coughing, reduced lung capacity, or obstructive breathing disorders, including sleep apnea. The PACT Act of 2022 formally recognized many of these conditions as presumptive, acknowledging what veterans had long experienced, that the air they breathed during service had changed their lungs in lasting ways. Traumatic brain injury effects.
More than 430,000 veterans have been diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury between 2000 and 2020, according to the CDC.
TBI from blast exposure, training accidents, or combat injuries affects far more veterans than most people realize. Even mild TBIs that seemed minor at the time can cause lasting changes to the brain's ability to regulate breathing during sleep, manage emotion, and sustain concentration. Studies show that 50% of veterans with TBI develop sleep-disordered breathing within 5 years of injury. Beyond sleep, many veterans with a history of TBI report chronic headaches, memory difficulties, mood instability, and heightened sensitivity to light and sound. These are not symptoms that simply resolve with rest. They reflect structural and functional changes to the brain itself. Hypervigilance and the stress response.
Hypervigilance has to do with this feeling aroused and keyed and on edge. But at a deeper level, it has to do with having that worldview of safety and how the world ought to be shaken. And so because that's shaken, a person with post-traumatic stress disorder feels like they have to be alert.
The nervous system adapts to combat and high-threat environments by staying on high alert. That's a survival mechanism. The problem is that for many veterans, that system never fully powers down, even in environments that are objectively safe. Chronic hypervigilance keeps stress hormones like cortisol elevated, disrupts sleep, tenses the muscles of the airway, and keeps the body in a low-grade fight-or-flight state around the clock. Over time, this has cascading effects on cardiovascular health, immune function, digestion, and mental well-being. The nervous system learned to protect itself, and unlearning that takes deliberate, often professional intervention. PTSD and mental health. PTSD affects up to 30% of combat veterans and carries with it a range of physical consequences that go well beyond the emotional. Veterans with PTSD are 3 times more likely to develop sleep apnea. They experience higher rates of chronic pain, cardiovascular disease, and immune dysfunction. A VA study found that 69% of veterans with PTSD also have sleep apnea. The relationship between mental and physical health in this population is deeply intertwined. Each condition tends to worsen the other. Treating only the physical symptoms without addressing underlying PTSD often produces incomplete results, which is why comprehensive multidisciplinary care has become the standard recommendation. Weight changes and metabolic shifts. The transition out of active duty often comes with significant physical changes that service members don't anticipate. During service, regimented PT, regulated meal times, and constant activity maintain a high baseline of fitness. When that structure disappears, and especially when chronic pain limits exercise, the body changes quickly. Veterans gain an average of 17 to 28 pounds in the first 2 years after separation, depending on branch. This weight gain isn't simply a lifestyle issue, it's a physiological response to reduced activity, disrupted sleep, elevated cortisol, and service-connected injuries that limit movement. Even modest weight gain significantly increases the risk of sleep apnea and cardiovascular problems, creating a cycle that can be genuinely difficult to break. Now it's time to hear from you. If you're a veteran, which of these changes hit closest to home for you? And if you know someone who served, share this with them, because understanding what service does to the body is the first step towards getting the right support.